Delhi has become worse than hell. This was a statement given by the Supreme Court on pollution in Delhi in November 2019. As the quality of air deteriorates with yet another winter arriving in Delhi, there is rising concern on how bad the impact will be. The centre has brought in an ordinance to set up an 18-member commission for air quality management. The commission is being empowered to give fines in the hundreds and thousands of dollars. The commission will replace the Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority, which was set up by the Supreme Court in 1998. For many years now, the government has been declaring that the stubble burning is going to stop, but enforcement has been poor. Industrial emissions, road dust, vehicular pollution are all factors that government talks in meeting rooms. On the ground, there is little or no implementation. The Delhi government recently launched the Green Delhi mobile app, with which citizens can bring pollution-causing activities to the notice of the government. The government promises strict actions against officers who don't act on controlling violations. A green war room has also been set up to monitor the steps being taken to bring down the pollution levels. With no solution in sight to offset the negative impact of pollution and COVID-19, usage of masks is the only way out to deal with the problems. India's bureaucratic lethargy in handling pollution will continue. Bureau Report, Democracy News Live, New Delhi.
Hello and welcome. You're watching another episode on Democracy News Live called It Matters. So remember when Donald Trump said in India the air is filthy? The only question is, should we be outraged? The answer is very simple though. No, because the air in fact is filthy. Every year around this time, we breathe the same toxic air. Problems were identified. Solutions were found. What happened to implementation and solving this issue altogether? Nothing. For the moment, let's listen in to what the residents of Delhi had to say about this issue.
Hi, my name is Prakhar and I'm residing in Delhi. For the past 1 month, me and my family members have started to experience difficulty in breathing, and this is getting worse day by day. We get to see a lot of smog around now, so it's pretty difficult nowadays.
Earlier, I used to go for morning and evening walks, but from last week, I do not step out from my house because of pollution, because I cannot breathe properly.
Hello everyone, the pollution in Delhi has increased so much that we just not to wear masks for the coronavirus, but also for the pollution, as it is causing so much of breathing problems. It's a high time and we need to look upon this now.
Well, you heard the people of New Delhi say that the pollution is a massive, massive issue, but nothing is being done about it. Let me bring in my special panel of guests today joining me, who will be talking about various aspects of this issue. First joining us is Abhishek Kumar. He is the CEO and the co-founder of Lung Care Foundation. They do a lot of extensive research around this issue as well. Also joining us is Basu. He's an environmental journalist. Also joining us is Mukherjee. She is an assistant professor, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at IIT Kharagpur. Thank you for joining us. Beginning with you, Abhishek, we're in the middle of a pandemic. What's happening? Is this going to aggravate the situation further?
Yes, Jessica. As the air gets more and more polluted, the COVID-19 pandemic will only get worse. When we went into lockdown, we experienced extremely clean air. For the first time, we could see blue skies in Delhi. From Jalandhar, we could see the Himalayas, and we experienced really nice air. Through those few months across the world, there were multiple studies which correlated air pollution to COVID-19. So one fact that we clearly know about COVID-19 is that anyone with a comorbidity, such as a weak lung because of a chronic lung disease, hypertension, heart disease, is at a significantly higher risk of having a serious outcome or a fatal outcome. We also know that air pollution leads to chronic lung diseases, it leads to hypertension, it leads to obesity, it leads to heart diseases. And when you put these together, it becomes very clear that people who are living in polluted cities such as Delhi or most of the cities of India will be at a much higher risk of having a fatal outcome. Not just that, but there are also studies which say that when the particulate matters are in the air are much more, it becomes easier for COVID virus to transmit from one person to another person. So studies from Italy and China say that with in places of higher air pollution, the infection rate was much higher.
Right. And, Jayanta, you heard what Abhishek said. We need to be prepared for worse that has to come. We're in the middle of a pandemic, as he was talking about, and situations could get worse. Delhi government says it's taking certain initiatives. It's launched an app. There's also an 18-member commission to deal with this. Do you think this is enough? This happens every year. Commissions are made, new initiatives are launched. Sometimes it's odd even. Sometimes switch off your car at the red light. But nobody is reaching out to real solutions. I think we have an audio issue, connectivity issue with Jayanta. We'll try and get back. Let me put that question to you, Genia. There are commissions set up. There is an app to track, various issues when it comes to air pollution, specifically here. Every year, the Delhi government will come up with a scheme saying, this time it's audio in, this time you switch on your car engine at the red light. Although agreed that these are temporary solutions, but the permanent ones remain unsolved. Many farmers still can't afford seeders. And apart from the vehicular emissions, there's also stubble burning, which is a major issue. Every year, there are new technological innovations to help us understand the problems and find solutions, but nothing is implemented.
Yes, I think Richa, you had asked the most pertinent question, and because for the time being, I would like to defocus your attention from stubble burning to actually enable you to refocus on the actual problem. You were talking about the real crisis, and I think that this actual problem is in the form of what we kind of designate as wicked problems. So in wicked problems, it means it's a tangled mess of thread where you don't know which thread to actually you have to pull the first. So which thread you need to pull first, you don't know. So that's kind of a wicked problem. And I very much think, this Delhi's air pollution is actually a kind of a wicked problem, because if we are right now focusing on stubble burning, I think we are only concentrating on 5% of the crisis and neglecting 95% of the problem, which should be understood in terms of, the energy intensive activities that are that go on in developing cities like Delhi, Kolkata, and even some of the other cities like Sao Paulo, Mexico, in the global south. So I think it's very important to understand this air pollution problem from its multi-scaled, multi-layered level. So what I would like to suggest is that it will be important for us to understand the politics of lethal air. So how this air pollution is exacerbating within the larger context of neoliberal urbanization, or maybe mega urbanization that the world is visualizing, and the countries of the global south, and more importantly the Asian cities, are playing a big role in it. So it is really important for us not to kind of understand this particular crisis as and continuously discuss and debate and exchange in an episodic manner, because we are only touching we are touching it sporadically. So it will be important to think about a long-term solution, and if we really want to think about long-term solutions, we have to focus the discussion around spatial scales, around temporal scales, and also around a very staunch critic of the mode of production. So what I would like to say is that later maybe I'll elaborate on it further. So I very much think that a political economic critic is very, very important if we now really want to discuss this issue seriously, because otherwise our survival is at stake.
Right, an important point there. Genia, I believe Mr. Basu's back with us on the line. Mr. Basu, exactly what I was asking Genia earlier, and she is elaborated on a different point together. She says it has to be political will and political economic will to implement the kind of changes and solutions we need to deal with the crisis.
I agree with Genia to large content. Hello, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I was saying that, there is lack of political will and there is lack of will to solve the issue on the ground. There are problems that we identified, we have solution, but nothing is being done about it. Temporary solutions, as I was mentioning earlier, implementing short-term schemes really don't help. Where do you think we're going wrong?
That's a big question. What is going wrong? Before I come to the political part of it, let me say that this ordinance, before you even go into the details of the ordinance, you find that you know that Supreme Court formed a committee earlier under Budelalji, and there are various environmental experts a part of that committee. And that committee, I know, have shot a letter to Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar yesterday, saying very clearly that 15 steps have already from their side, and another 7 are in pipeline. Basically, what I'm trying to drive at, there are no job actions or quote-unquote actions. But the bottom line is what you are doing on the ground. In spite of everything, just after lockdown being partially withdrawn, the air quality index of Delhi shot up from 100 to 300. And stubble burning is only part of the story. It's not the story in itself. Some people are trying to show it. So the point is the political part of it. How serious you are as government, as politicians, to do that. You have the graded action plan, you have everything, but on ground, nothing is happening. So the point is, if you look at the larger environmental, you find that this government is out to kind of dilute most of the environmental actions and regulations, be it Green Tribunal, be it others. So my hunch is that despite everything, these are basically, this ordinance has been brought to kind of stop Supreme Court in its effort to take care of Delhi's pollution. Under Justice Lockwood, a committee was formed by Supreme Court to look at this pollution, and now this ordinance is trying to kind of. I'm very clear about it. I'm not only saying this government, the governments before, and also the regional governments. When I'm saying Delhi, also the Kolkata, West Bengal, or other major states, they're not very serious about this controlling air pollution in particular and environment in general. Actually, investing in environment gives you long-term dividends, but working against it gives you short-term dividends. There are stakeholders who get benefit out of working against environment. So the governments are only working in a span of 5 years. They look at 5-year span, so they don't go beyond it. Another point I would like to make here is that why you are kind of limiting yourself with this ordinance to the NCR and the Haryana, Punjab, UP, and Rajasthan around. This is the basin concept. You can't stop pollution to come from the distant places. Why you kind of limit yourself? And when you form beforehand an NCAP, National Clean Air Policy, why this announcement? So you keep on having ordinances and policies and everything, but doing nothing on ground. So that is what I would like to point out here.
And Abhishek, as Mr. Basu says, there are policies and there are various initiatives taken, but nothing is implemented on ground. Abhishek, you've done extensive research. You work at the Lung Care Foundation and you do research round the year, not just limited to this period where we start complaining of an extensively toxic air. Give us insights as to, what kind of initiatives would really help and what is not being done.
Jessica, yes. So one thing I would like to highlight, which also you said, that suddenly when October comes, air pollution again becomes an issue. And one, it's not like we did not know throughout the year that it will be again extremely hazardous. And two, that it's right now air pollution becomes an issue because it's optically visible. But air pollution is there throughout the year. Throughout the year, Delhi is extremely polluted. Just giving you reference, we had, if you go to the WHO slide website, they have the average air quality data of Delhi, where PM 2.5 average is 143. And that's extremely dangerous. Being in Delhi, we kind of think that, okay, 143 is okay because we in Diwali, we stay around 400, 500, 600. But just giving you reference, according to a study, 22 micrograms per meter cube of PM 2.5 is equal to one cigarette. So 143 across the year. So if you try and calculate, that will be around 6 cigarettes a day. And if you multiply by 365 days, that will be more than 2000 cigarettes per person per year for a non-smoking person. So my question is that why is it a hot topic only in October? Why there is not a proper annual approach of solving air pollution? Because air pollution is not something which you can fix in a day, in a 2 days, or even in 1 to 2 years. It multiple years are required. So consistent high level inputs are required for cleaning the air. And just one more, that the standards that we have set are extremely low standards. Currently, I am in Oxford right now. I've been in Oxford for the last 2 months. And just to give you an idea of what air is in another city, the average PM 2.5 level here is around 4 or 5, and the AQI level is under 10. So setting a standard of 60 is not the right standard. So one, people need to know that air is polluted throughout the year. It's not just when we can see it. And second, all agencies need to act on it, and act on it as not an environment issue, but it's a public health emergency. Before COVID-19, WHO had announced air pollution as a public health emergency, and they need to prioritize health and act on it on emergency basis.
Rightly pointed out, Abhishek, this is a public health emergency. We're in the midst of a pandemic as well. Mr. Basu, I will quote a report from India Spend of Global Air 2020 report. It says that around 116,000 infants died in India due to air pollution in 2019, which meant that one infant died every 5 minutes due to air pollution. As Abhishek was pointing out, the issue is not limited to just around this time of the year when we see maximum toxic pollutants in the air. It's an issue which is supposed to be considered and discussed and tackled all around the year. I believe we have a problem connecting with Mr. Basu. Tough times we live in. Internet connectivity is still a problem amongst many others. Let me go across to Jinia. Jinia, as I was saying, there is the issue of pollution is not limited to just around this time. And as Abhishek was pointing out, he says that why don't we discuss this issue, and why don't we take it seriously the entire year, as a matter of fact, and not just limited to this period. And even to Mr. Basu, I was quoting a report where I said that a report by India Spend. It's a Global Air 2020 report. It says 116,000 infants died in India due to air pollution in 2019, which meant that one infant died every 5 minutes due to air pollution. That's startling. I mean, didn't India have enough of crisis when it came to children dealing with hunger, going to bed, empty stomach, and then infectious diseases, cholera, and otherwise as well, typhoid? I mean, and you add these are startling numbers. Should we be worried?
Yeah, thanks, Jessica, again for asking this provocative question. And I think I would like you to even drill down into this particular report, or maybe some other reports which can complement this particular finding, to show that who are these infants. So I would like to raise this question that if I'm sure that if we make an analysis to see that from which rung of the society these infants are coming, you can definitely, I'm sure that you can understand that how this particular problem is also unequal across various strata of the society. So what I would like to say is that the argument that Abhishek raised, and I absolutely agree with him, that why don't we discuss Delhi's pollution throughout the year? And why do we only discuss, Delhi's air pollution problem surrounding stubble burning during this specific part of the year? So my own how do I say, my take on this would be that again we need to focus our attention on the vested interests that actually operate, behind facilitating lot of industries or lot of economic activities which kind of promote this air pollution and make air toxic. So what I would like to say is that, air, unfortunately, it has become private and it has become a commodity which is no more affordable by by the common masses, by the majority people. So, so I think it's very important to bring into the discussion these various snippets where we should understand the these different development projects, because if you see that Delhi's pollution, a major chunk, a major chunk of the pollution, or a major chunk of this particulate matter that contributes to Delhi's air pollution come from demolition dust and construction dust. So you need to raise this question that, these development projects at what cost and, for whom. So these questions.
Right. These questions certainly need answers.
Yeah.
Abhishek.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just not one factor contributing to the toxic air we're breathing. There are many factors, not stubble burning, not the vehicular emissions. Of course, there's construction work also, as Genia rightly points out. Abhishek, right now we're in the middle of the pandemic, and I cannot just move over this point. And when our toxic air is healthy, and you also mentioned that it's going to get even worse. There are these studies, as you were pointing out, that this will increase transmission more or less. What would you tell our viewers on how to keep safe during these times? What's your solution for them, if there is any?
Well, one, I guess, it's been a silver lining of the pandemic that the use of mask has suddenly gone up now. It's mandated because of other reasons. There are different kind of masks which people are using. I would say that if people can, they should shift to a N95 mask. So the normal surgical mask or a face covering is good for protecting you from COVID-19. But now the air pollution is also extremely high. So if you want to protect yourself from COVID-19 and air pollution, I would suggest that you use an N95 mask, which is snugly fitting, so that all the air that going inside you is filtered through the mask. So that one, it will save you from COVID-19. It's the same mask that most doctors wear when they are in hospital. Second, it will also save you from the toxins, which is such as PM 2.5, PM 10 from going inside you. Another thing that I would like to highlight, that the festive season is coming. I'm not saying that festivities should not be celebrated, but we should still be very much aware that the pandemic hasn't gone anywhere. The pandemic is at large. In Delhi, we are seeing around 4,000 new cases a day, which is extremely alarming. So we shouldn't take it lightly or forget that we are in the middle of a pandemic, and try and ensure all the precautions that we had been taking, meeting less people, ensuring safe distance, washing our hands regularly. Because just to give you a contrast, it's a little funny when there were probably a few hundred cases that time, we all were extremely careful. But right now, where there are thousands of cases around us, we have all become extremely careless.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, when I see someone without a mask, that's my first question to them. We were terribly, terribly scared when there were just a handful of cases. And now when we're reaching 50,000 cases every single day, almost, at least for the last couple of weeks, we're not bothered at all. Very interesting point there, Abhishek. Genia, it's almost time. And the last question I'll put forth for you would be, how different sectors can come together, including the government as well as the others, think tank researchers as well as policy contributors. So, Genia, how can we find a common solution to this problem? There are talks, there are debates, there are discussions every year. Same issues are discussed. Oh, the farmers don't have cedars. Oh, Delhi is in, talks with the neighboring state to prevent stubble burning or to prevent construction factory work for this limited period of time. But these are just temporary solutions. But the problem comes we face the problem every year. So what is that one final unique solution? Maybe through your research, if you would be able to tell us.
Yes, so I think like it's high time that this transdisciplinary exchange and trans-sectoral collaboration should be pursued, should be promoted. So what I would like to say is that, till date, I don't see the exchange flow going on across different sectors. So by different sectors, I mean academia, NGOs, grassroots organizations, different think tanks, other policy circles, etc. So what is very important is that these different sectors, they are really doing a lot of independent research, high quality research, and I can definitely list some names. For example, there is this Automotive Research Association of India, which is a major think tank. We have Center for Policy Research in Delhi. We have the Energy Research Institute, and there are researchers, there are professors. For example, at the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, IIT Delhi. So they are publishing. What I see is that they are publishing very good reports and very good articles, by addressing different components of Delhi's air pollution. And now I think it's high time that there should be a lot of exchanges among these various groups and various sectors, so that at the same time the theoretical argument and also the action research component of the common issue can be I will not say sorted out, but at least it should be dealt from a collaborative lens, I must say.
Right. Mr. Basu, are you finally able to hear us? We had to cut you short here and there because we couldn't get your audio. Are you able to hear us? So I'm sorry, I'll only be able to put a final question to you, which is, what do you think the government needs to do and what do you think it's not doing right now to tackle the crisis?
Let us accept on the outside it's not a very simple problem. It's a complicated problem. This problem is not only limited to Delhi or India. It's a problem predominant in South Asia, but other parts of the world as well. But having said that, there are low-hanging fruits. Jania has talked about the researches and other things. Yes, those are required. But at the same time, we have already had a lot of researches. We have a lot of data. We have a lot of info. But the bottom line is to implement. Whenever government is taking a decision, I'm not asking them to take, say, decisions which are huge, but take decisions and execute it on ground. Why on earth Supreme Court or the High Courts have to come and interfere at every level to push government to take action which they have themselves promised? So across India, we find, for example, India's PM 2.5 is 83.2, highest in the world. Abhishek was talking about Delhi, which is around 120, but India itself is 83.2, highest in the world. So at one side, we are promulgating so many policies, so many theories, so many everything, but on ground, we are not doing anything. We are pushing on the there is always every city, every place has a limit
of
resources.
So Mr. Basu, I'm sorry for interjecting here. Then there is someone to blame, because if you do have policy initiatives, even if you do have action plans, where are we failing? Why are we breathing this air again and again?
That's what I'm saying. The government is to blame. The executors, the implementers, the government has to be blamed because they are on ground. They are supposed to execute the action on ground. They are policies and they are flouting their own policies. So they are the persons who are to be blamed. Nothing less than that.
Right. We'll see if that happens in this day and age. Surprisingly, that doesn't really work well. But Abhishek, I'll put a last question to you as well. For fitness enthusiasts, so people who go out on walks, who enjoy outdoor, what is your advice to them right now? Because I do dread, going out jogging early morning, which I love to, but I wouldn't step out. So what are the alternatives we really have?
Jessica, that's a very important question, and I know that's personally important for you also. It's important for most children also, because children have been inside their houses for most of this year, and now that things are opening up, not that it's safe, but still people are walking, children are going out. But the thing is, when we breathe, when we are exercising, we are breathing more heavily, we are taking in more air, we are taking in more toxins. And there are enough studies which prove that if we exercise in polluted air, we are doing more harm than gain. So my few suggestions are that, one, look out for good air quality days, look out for air quality. People tend to work out in the morning because that's more comfortable. They think it's nice, but that's probably the worst time because the pollutants throughout the night get accumulated and air pollution is at its peak. So number one, I'll say is look out for the good air quality times and days. And number two, I would say is try and exercise indoor. If you can exercise indoor, that is much better because I mean, right now, for the next 3 months, the way Delhi is, no one can recommend that you should go out and exercise. Wearing mask also doesn't help is because when you're running, when you're taking out a lot of CO2, mask doesn't let that CO2 go out. You're just re-inhaling that and that can be extremely harmful for you. So my only suggestion is maybe shift to aerobic exercises inside your house.
Jessica, one word, can I have it?
Yes, Mr. Basu, please go ahead.
My one just quick point I would like to make here is that the festival season is on. The Diwali will be a couple of weeks from now. Considering the kind of scenario we are right in, considering the winter pollution that the major cities of the countries are likely to go through in the winter, I suggest or I think that there should be a complete ban on fireworks this winter. Already last year, the Supreme Court has passed an order for the NCR region, but this year, I believe, considering the COVID, there are already so many studies specifying the relationship of COVID with the heightening air pollution. I think the cities, major cities like Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Mumbai, there should be a complete ban on bursting of any kind of firework, and that should be the only option. We are losing thousands of our countrymen every year, kind of still now, almost 1,000 every day. So we should stop kind of bursting firecrackers this festival season at least.
That's all we have for you in this edition. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you with more interesting issues and more worthy issues of the day on our show. It Matters. Thank you for watching.